Welcome back to the Tap 2 podcast. I'm your host, Stash, alongside my fine hunky minotaur of a man, Jonas. Say hi, Jaybird.
Moo! Hi!
Now, that's a reference, obviously, to last episode. If you know, you know. We want to thank you for the continued love and support over the now two. This will be the third episodes. The good news is, Jonas, if we never stop, we'll always be breaking a show's record. So I think that's something to look forward to.
Absolutely. This is the longest we've ever gone. If you add up all the previous episodes as well.
Please, if you wouldn't mind at the top of the show, giving us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify while you're there. It helps to rate the show. I'm getting word from our producers that does help the show's ratings. It's us. We're the producers. So please please go rate the show. And now that that is out of the way, Jonas, Magic the Gathering. Is it too much?
Yes!
Is it too much? Have the boundaries been pushed too far? Have they cowed their last bunga?
Yeah. I'm feeling real shell-shocked by the latest expansion. I really do. Yeah, Cowabunga, dude. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Cue the intro. No intro yet.
Oh, fuck!
All right. We've talked about video games. We've talked about books. We've yet to talk about the topic for which the show is named, Magic the Gathering. Yeah, we're a nerd-themed podcast, but it could be anything. I was actually thinking about this when I was writing sort of like the intro down, Jonas. I was like, I really feel like the word nerd has taken on a totally new connotation since like 2020, like the pandemic. Remember, like it was like all of a sudden there was a wave. It was cool to watch anime.
Yeah, I get that. I think for a long time, here's the problem, Stas. I think these countercultures have existed for such a long time, but with the rise of things like Marvel movies and with comic books getting so like selling so well, and everyone started to play like D&D or whatever. Everyone knows a guy who does something nerdy. It's no longer as aggressive of a counterculture, and now it's kind of become very mainstream. So nerd is just like, yeah, I like media. Yeah, I watched Game of Thrones. Yeah, sure, I'm a nerd, I guess.
Yeah, I'm nerding out about the newest Great British Baking Show. Like that
was a crazy example, but I get you.
Well, we've come to the idea of today's episode because today, as you're listening to it, it's the official release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you're a non-Magic fan thinking, what the fuck, TMNT, yeah, you're not alone. You're with a lot of Magic players who are like, what the fuck, TMNT. And that's kind of what we're getting into today. We'll talk a little bit about Universes Beyond, a little bit about the history of Magic. To name the podcast Tap 2 and then not talk about Magic in the first two episodes, kind of baller.
Well, I agree, but for those who don't know Magic the Gathering, in Magic the Gathering, tapping 2 means to create the energy to do something. So we tapped 2 mana to then cast this episode. So in fact, the first episode is just us tapping our lands, baby. And that episode only works if you love Magic. And a lot of this episode is going to be like that. I'm just fucking with you.
Well, tapping 2, what does it mean? That was my next point. You've explained it. And if you're listening to it, we're going to talk a little bit more about sort of how that came to be. But first, we should probably let people know, Jonas, because we're the residential experts, because we own microphones.
Absolutely.
How long have you been playing Magic the Gathering?
Ooh, how long have I been playing Magic the Gathering? I literally might have to look up the date. I could tell you, like, the event that got me into Magic the Gathering. That might be a bit easier.
What's the set? Like, that's probably a good way to put it.
Yes, the set that got me into Magic the Gathering was Edges of Eternity, because I loved the idea of a really cool space opera set. There was tons of, like, knights, Valorant in space, and there was tons of, like, weird bug monsters. And I went to a pre-release with my buddy. It was, like, my first ever event, and I did shockingly well for someone who can't read cards yet. And it was super fun. I met a bunch of really cool people. I got to look at some really, like, fun art. I still have a thing I do in a lot of my decks is I'll shoehorn a card that does not fit. And in basically every single one of my decks, I have one card that I pulled from that event. It's like my little like homage to the thing that got me into it. I think if you are trying to get into Magic the Gathering, go to an LGS, do a welcome event, and then do a pre-release. It's the most fun way to get into it. What about you? How did you get into Magic?
I got into Magic with the Final Fantasy set, which actually came out
Oh,
right before EOE. And I don't know if you remember this. Remember we texted and I was like, "Hey dude, I've been getting into Magic the Gathering." And you're like, "Wait, me too." Like we kind of had that it was another instance of like, are we the same guy?
yeah. It's cut to Pam going, it's the same picture.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I can think of one discernible difference between the two of us, but that is about it.
it's the hair.
It's all right. So, Magic the Gathering is a tabletop collectible card game, more commonly
Mhm,
referred to as a TCG. You've got paper versions, you've got digital versions. We'll talk a little bit more about the difference later. But really, let's get into a little bit of the history because if you're a friend of the show, you're probably listening and thinking either I know what this is and you can skip ahead, or you've
mhm.
never heard of Magic the Gathering in your entire life, besides the two guys who created a podcast around it, and want to know a little bit more. The game was created by a man named Richard Garfield, the
Mm.
God King, if you will, uh,
Yeah,
in 1993.
I support the Mark Rosewater rebellion. I just want that on file.
So he was originally working on a
Mm.
D&D inspired game called Five Magics and never had planned to publish it. Now, instead, so this guy he was a video game, excuse me, he was a board game developer. Instead, he was working what was called Robo Rally. It was basically a
Mm.
tabletop game that focused on moving robots through a factory while trying to overcome different hazards. And as I was reading that description, I was like, I think I'd fuck with that game. I love a
I was gonna
robot.
say Robot Rally sounds sick as hell. Wait, why are we not playing Robot Rally right now?
I don't know if honestly I should have included. I don't know if Robot Rally ever took off in the way like Matt. Well, okay, let me not get ahead of
Yeah,
myself, right?
keep going, keep going. I'm on the edge of my seat, like literally.
Okay, so a man named Pete Adkinson comes along. He's a rep from the Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast owns Magic, for those who are unaware. This guy meets with Garfield and he tells him it's good, but logistically a little risky to publish. He then goes on to explain, and this is the abridged version, he's in the
Sure.
market for a game that was portable and could be played in the downtime that frequently occurred at gaming conventions. The myth goes is that he was also working on a game to take in between rounds of combat in D&D. And as
That's
you and I
crazy.
yeah, as you and I both know, Jonas, a fucking round of combat when you are a player can take 25 minutes.
Okay, sure, yes. But if you're, and not to throw stones, but if you're a DM worth his salt, you're trying to keep combat kind of quick. There's no way you could fit in a game of magic in between
Well,
a
remember
round of combat.
the first iteration of Magic was a 60 card format. It wasn't Commander,
Oh,
the
it was
format that we're used to.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Okay.
1v1 60 card that you honestly could pick up and put down at any
Oh,
point, right?
yeah. I guess you could
So
try and sneak in a game of standard during a round of D&D combat.
I'm gonna do it as a DM, like somebody's taking way too long to like read the dice, and I'm gonna be like, okay, tap two, and
Yeah, I counterspell. I guess I do counterspell a lot. Yeah, as
yeah,
a DM, sometimes you got to throw that in there. Tapping two and being like, yeah, and now I'm gonna play freaking Esper Sentinel. I know it's a one cost spell, guys. Don't worry.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
We're not posers, I promise.
yeah, I promise. Everyone who doesn't know what magic is like, get back to the history. I'm trying to
No,
figure out what
they're
the
like, come
hell's
on,
going
man, we're
on.
trying to support the show. Tell us what the
Yeah.
hell it is. So August 5th, 1993, Magic has its general release. It's what's known as like the alpha set. It's the first one, and it kind of
Mhm.
took off, became very popular. Um, so that's sort of the abridged version. That's the history of the game. And I'm curious, I wanted to ask you about this because I actually was thinking about this when I was coming up with it. Do you know anybody in your life, like a friend or colleague or something, who has tried to publish a board game?
That's so silly. I know, like, it's such a weird question because I'm one of the few people who probably does. I know, like, I live a very strange life where I know people who've done everything. I know a butcher, I know a baker, I know a candlestick maker. Like that's not jokes. I know all three of those professions. And I do
It's like,
know a
okay,
guy who's
riff king, slam poetry.
yeah, too many jobs around my hood, trying to do all these jobs good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, but I do know a guy who released some board games, and I can know how difficult it is to try and get one off the market. And I can't imagine how hard that is, especially back in the day when there was like no internet. When you're if you're dropping, when did Magic first release?
1993
If
was the
you're
general
dropping that,
release.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Obviously, there's internet back in the 1993, but it's not. You're not Googling fun games to play. You have to like
Yeah.
literally know a guy who knows Richard Garfield to get a copy.
No, yeah. So basically that is sort of the further story is he goes on to announce it. They basically start shopping it around local game shops. They're building up for Gen Con, this big board game convention to basically release. And like within the first couple days of it being announced, it like sells out, basically. So off the
Oh,
rip, the game becomes incredibly popular, and that's with like I don't know 120 cards or whatever it is. I didn't grab
yeah,
the full
yeah.
number. We'll flash forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In 1999, Wizards of the Coast is acquired by Hasbro for like $325 million.
Okay, $325.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 300 is just a cool like, hey man, we'll buy lunch and Magic is ours.
Yeah,
Now, I
stay
thought this was
easy.
important because if you take a
Mm-hmm.
look at, and this is where I'm about to drop a little finance knowledge on you. If
Yeah,
you take a
please.
look at Hasbro's stock price at the end of that year, they closed their stock price on the year 20% down. And this basically has to do with like the fact that the .com bubble was approaching. Everybody thought the world
Absolutely.
was going to end with Y2K. So a
Yeah.
corporation sort of took the opportunity to a acquire a game that was very popular
Mm-hmm.
and expand it past expand it to other formats basically.
Really interesting. I figured that because I came to Magic so late in the game, I figured that acquisition also happened like not too. I figured it happened recently, like in the 2010s or 2020s. But Magic for so long has been connected through Hasbro. Apparently, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, why bring all of this up? Because basically, I want to set the tone because I think you would agree, Jonas, that
Hmm.
a lot of people who play Magic hold
Hmm.
the hobby very near and dear to their heart.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. Magic and like is very similar to D&D, where if you want to know if someone plays one of those two things, you just have to wait 10 minutes, and they'll like slip up and mention it, like on accident. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, and I was playing Magic the other day," and I'm like, "Found you! I knew you were one of them."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
A lot of
Look at
people
you,
do.
little nerd.
Yeah, especially like if you go to an LGS, even me, I'm like, oh, I got 5 decks. I'm such a big bad guy. There's people who are like, yeah, man, I have full binders full of every release from this year till this year to blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wow, it really runs deep in certain communities.
Yeah. Or on the flip side, you show up and there's the guy who carries around his one commander deck that is absolutely insane. Shout out to my
Yeah.
friend who
Oh,
plays Norn the Wary and is like always a problem when he plays the deck.
oh, I love Norn the Wary.
Like I was saying, there's a lot of elitists who, well, I shouldn't say a lot of elitists. There are people
Mhm,
in the community who are elitist about the hobby because they've been playing since the 90s. They've been playing with an alpha set. They've experienced sets that are very in universe with the lore.
mhm.
And I was thinking, like, we'll talk a little bit about this, but to give insight to people who are out, you would maybe be shocked to find out that the most expensive Magic card sold was $3 million, which is absolutely insane. And if I told you who bought it, if you're unfamiliar, you would probably be like, "What?" It was Post Malone.
Yeah, it is a weird jump scare that Post Malone bought a Lord of the Rings themed Magic card for
Yeah,
$3 million.
yeah. But because when we were talking, when I was doing the research for this episode, I thought it was. I think about this often when we're playing and trading cards. Is that like the
Gosh, I
value?
apologize. Wait one moment. Okay, sorry. There was a police car going past my house. and I figured we might want to wait 1 second until I don't know if it was even getting picked up, but I could hear it. So
They
I
got
just
your
wanted
ass.
to. Yeah, yeah,
Done.
they're knocking on, they're knocking on the. Hey, are you talking magic?
It feels different in the sense that like okay, so Magic's value, a Magic card's value comes from somewhat of its collectability, but it also
Hmm.
comes from its playability. That's like a big difference in Magic. And kind of one of the reasons
Absolutely.
I personally like it. Like I'm a big fan of the collecting part of the game, but a big part of the collecting part of the game is to then take that collected card and use it in a real format where like, Pokemon is like you see videos of scalpers like waiting in line
Yeah.
at Walmart because they're chasing that one print or a couple of the prints that are just worth so much money, essentially like ruining the hobby, right? Like at the end of the day, it's a children's game. It's for children. Like, like
Yeah, there's not weirdly. Obviously, there are scalpers, I imagine, for Magic, but people who are buying these expensive cards are actually putting them into decks. I've like gone to tables and someone be like, by the way, that card you're looking at, it costs like hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But I feel like with a lot of people collecting Pokemon cards, they'll just pop it in a slab and it will exist on their wall forever. Which it seems so antithetical to like the theme of both of those games.
yeah, I mean, part of me gets it. Like I've watched some Pokemon gameplay, and it just seems like kind
Mhm.
of boring to me. Like there's not a lot of there's not a lot of sorry to throw
Yeah,
shade at the
Stas.
Pokemon community.
Let's start up a little bit of heat.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a Magic elitist. One Piece can go
Mhm.
to hell.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you feel about Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh. I summon Pot of Greed.
That's what it do. That's what it do.
So
But keep
I mean,
going.
so the context of all of this is because we're talking about a larger thing that has taken place in Magic since its conception, which is
Mhm.
this idea called universes beyond. You've heard Jonas and
Ooh.
I mention Lord of the Rings. We've
Mhm.
talked about Final Fantasy. We've talked about we'll talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Right.
Spider-Man. Basically, Magic expands its property, or I should say, it expands two other properties to potentially boost numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like you remember I
In
mentioned
theory.
Hasbro. Owns this company. Hasbro is a corporation, and corporations are the devil. So
That's he's right though.
yeah, yeah, why are you laughing? I'm right.
Yeah.
So that is kind of like what we want to talk about today. So 20 minutes into the episode, we're talking about universes beyond.
Yeah.
Jonas,
What does universe beyond mean, Stosh? I'm actually curious. Is it? What defines a universes beyond set?
I don't know. It's basically anything in. I don't know if there's a real definition, but basically
Huh?
anything that expands past Magic's own property.
Got it. Okay. So
So
if
what
it
I've done,
started, oh
sorry to cut you off there, buddy,
no, please do.
is I played a little investigative journalist. I would like to ask you, at the forefront of this conversation, what are your thoughts on universes beyond? State your name for the record.
I, my name is Jonas Clark. Uh, 5'10", 5'11" on a good day, 6 foot if I'm lying. Uh, I like universes beyond. The issue that I'm finding is that the universes beyond properties that have gotten like a lot of heat or whatever tend to be properties I really, really like. Like they did. I don't know if D&D counts as a universes beyond. I imagine it does. If we count that, I loved all the Baldur's Gate stuff. If we count, I mean, obviously Spider-Man. I know Spider-Man got a lot of heat, but I like Spider-Man. I fuck with him. That's my guy. I think there is something novel about seeing characters you enjoy in your stuff. Obviously, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that set was generally regarded positively.
Yeah.
So it is very strange. Overall, I think I enjoy the Universes Beyond stuff, but I find the in-universe stuff so much more compelling, and it kind of feels like we get less of that, or that gets pushed to the side and doesn't get its room to breathe because of all the universes beyond and all the secret layers that drop and all of that stuff. So it's a mixed bag for me. I think generally it's fine, but maybe you have to watch the quantity. It's dessert. I love dessert. I'll eat a bread pudding, but I can't have it with every meal.
I fuck
What
with
about
bread
you? How do
pudding
you?
so heavy.
Oh my god, it goes so hard. What about? How do you feel about universes beyond?
So let me hold off on that question for a second,
Oh,
because the reason
okay.
I did this is I went and asked people at my LGS, my local game shop,
Oh,
about their
hell yes.
opinion. Okay. I've tried
Man
to
on
get
the
a
street.
range. Yeah, a man on the street getting investigated. And by that I mean text messages of my friends. But
And
I was
by that, he
basically
means Discord
yeah,
messages.
yeah. I was asking people. I was trying to get like a range of experience. Basically, I was trying to get someone who is newer like us, someone who's been playing since maybe like the 2010s, and then people who have basically been playing since the beginning. So I'm going to pepper in these quotes throughout the episode. But basically, my first friend, shout out, he said first set was Kaladesh. Okay, Kaladesh was 2015, I believe, like right around
Sure.
there. He says universe beyond properties that are magic adjacent, like your Final Fantasies or your avatars, are 100% okay with me. The theming is close enough where you could see it being something created by Wizards of the Coast for Magic. D&D would also fit into this, but given the crossover between both properties, I personally wouldn't consider it universes beyond anymore. I
Okay.
do take some issue with other universes beyond sets, though. Both Spider-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles take place in New York City, and while fantastical, aren't the fantasy vibe that something like Lord of the Rings is. The cards also don't seem to represent the characters well in these sets. I know this is an issue with the medium, but some cards feel disjointed with what a character does in their own existing medium.
I think that's he is spitting, or she is spitting, or they are spitting. Whomever is spitting,
he
because
is fitting. He is fitting.
perfect. Um, yeah, no, I really do agree with that. I think when it, as much as I love seeing all the characters that I really do like, when it clashes with the vibe of these sets, it really does kind of throw off the energy in the deck. When I'm like, that is straight up like New York. That's a bagel with schmear. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the F train. All of these are real cards, by the way. Um,
Yeah, no, hot dog cart is a real card in Magic.
that's a real card. Angry cab driver, I think, is a real card. I hope I'm not missaying what it is. Um, I oh, okay. I have an idea for a potential solution, and I want to run it by you.
Okay.
How would you feel if that for universes beyond sets, for things that don't completely jive with the theme of Magic the Gathering, what if they adjusted it to jive with the theme more? Like, what if we had Spider Man, but he's dressed up as like a medieval rogue? Or what if we had, I don't know, Men in Black, but they're knights instead of being dudes in suits? Do you think that would throw off the staying to the themes of the original properties more, or do you think that would be a middle ground that doesn't do either properly?
I I would probably go with the latter, because
Yeah.
if they're gonna make the arachnid hero who dresses like that, they might as well just expand their own lore, right?
Hmm.
I feel like the whole point of Universes Beyond was to drag in other properties that were their own
Gotcha.
thing, but then like exist kind of in the Magic setting,
So
right?
you're an almond path hater. Is kind of the vibe I'm getting from
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that
Okay.
shit was corny as hell. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
So you would rather straight up hear me out, rather than seeing like a knight who happens to be named Robert and be square, you would rather see SpongeBob SquarePants on a card.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, for the listener, SpongeBob exists in the Magic universe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess we haven't mentioned that. Yeah,
Well,
SpongeBob exists too.
I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth. Let me expand a little further on my research here, and then I'll sort of give my opinion. Okay. So Magic exists from 93 to basically like 2021. And Universes Beyond, like the idea for Universes Beyond, was officially announced in February 2021 during a Hasbro investor event by the then World of Wizards of the Coast president named Chris Cox. Shout out Cox. Uh, I
Love
thought this
cops.
context was I thought this context was kind of crucial because the first official investment, or sorry, the first official announcement is to investors, right? So you're thinking, what's a way we can make money? Let's expand
Hmm.
the property, baby. Who's the first people to know that? The people with financial ties to the
Yeah.
company. Personally, I think it kind of sounds like, remember how we talked about in the first episode, High Guard, and how video games don't do a good job at listening to their communities? That's
Hmm.
kind of what it's reminiscent of, right?
Yeah. The issue that Magic is having, and maybe I should save this comment for later in the discussion, is that we can say that Magic is not listening to its communities, but Magic keeps having sales like shattering records every single set. So it's very hard because aren't all the sets like doing better and better? Didn't Final Fantasy break a record, and then Lord of the Rings broke a record, and then Avatar did really well. I think Spider-Man maybe didn't do that well, but all tons of LGSs were packed. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, tons of LGSs were packed. It's very hard to say like, oh, that we should listen to the people who are playing, but the people who are playing are buying a lot of this stuff.
So my man's intuition is popping this episode
Hmm.
because that's exactly what is happening. Now, not for every set, right?
Fair.
So Wizards of the Coast didn't come out of the gate strong. They introduced what's called a secret lair drop. For anyone unfamiliar,
Mm.
these are these drops that happen once and you can't ever get the cards again unless they specifically do like a reprint or something. But
Hmm.
they introduce The Walking Dead. So Walking Dead, like I wouldn't call it fantasy, but it definitely has like sci-fi element
Yeah.
to it, right? A zombie apocalypse. It fits sort of into the world of Magic because there are cards that are literally called like zombie cards, you know?
Yeah, very fair.
Yeah. So
Mechanically, it's very easy to make that leap.
right. And so basically they come out with The Walking Dead, and this secret lair is basically a way for Wizards to promote a new artist or a new IP and kind of do the thing we were talking about before where it's like not every magic card is collectible, but if a set only come or if a special printing only comes out, with 100 copies of it, that inherently makes it more valuable. And depending on what the
Absolutely.
card does mechanically.
Yeah, Rick
So
Rick Grimes, Rick Grimes, that card is busted. And I actually run it well, I run a fake copy, a proxy, in my deck because he's just a good human who helps out other humans. It is. And if you really want to buy a real one, because it was so limited, it costs like $50 if you want a real copy of Rick Grimes from AMC's The Walking Dead.
so basically like that happens in 2021 ish. And then
Hmm.
2022 rolls around. Magic comes out with Warhammer, a very popular, uh, what are they called? It's like tabletop game, but it's like you have little miniatures and you're
Oh, like
battling and
War Games, maybe?
yeah, yeah. And then in 2023 they come out with Lord of the Rings. This becomes Magic's second highest grossing set ever. And if you follow the money, Jonas, according to
Yeah.
Hasbro's own Q2 2025 earning reports, Final Fantasy is not just a hit, it becomes the most successful set in the game's history and brought in more players than any other set since the game's conception,
Oh, yeah,
including myself.
absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say, you're on the podcast right now.
Well, so that now allow me to give my personal take, and then I'm gonna hand it off to you because the listener wants to hear
Okay.
you too. I like Universes Beyond. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. I like Universes Beyond when executed well, which is obviously a very
Mm,
easy thing to say. You like anything when it's executed well.
yeah. I love quiche when it's executed well.
Spider Man
Sure.
was ass. Spider Man was best. I'm sorry
Oh,
to come at you like that, but Spider
oh.
Man, no, because this is why for
He's
the
not
listener.
wrong, which is rough.
For the listener, look, Magic announces sets and they have a ranging number of cards. It could be 120 cards, it could be 400 cards in a set.
Mhm.
It was very obvious that Spider Man came out and was a rushed set. And then not really a lot of cards were that fun or cool, and the only ones that were good were reprints of previous cards because they will also do that. They'll reprint a card
Yeah.
in a new set, which fluctuates the price and so on and so forth.
And sometimes they give it fun new art, which was the case for a lot of the Spider-Man cards. Like there's classic cards that are quite good, stuff like Opposition Agent, Path to Exile. I'm just listing cards, but these are staples in a lot of different decks, and they got reprints as Spider-Man characters with like full mask, full comic book art. It was very interesting and very cool looking cards, but it's all stuff that exists already. No one's excited for the new cards, really. Miles Morales is very fun to play. Most of the Peter Parkers are just do a thing. And it's very hard to articulate this to a not Magic knowing audience, but the lack of creativity is something that can be really felt through game design. When a card doesn't match up with a character and is just kind of generically slotted in, it really does create a friction between that play experience.
I would agree.
Mhm.
I think sometimes they have a set that they are like, well, we need to include this character, even though mechanically it doesn't make sense. Also, for the listener, Magic has its own lore, like
Yeah.
lore that I don't know a single thing about, but has existed since like they used to publish books that they would give out with pre-release sets, and that
Yeah.
shit goes back. That's like you see the same couple cards, like for example, there's these cards called Planeswalkers. They're kind of famous characters in Magic. There are Planeswalkers with 25 different printings, all doing different things.
Absolutely.
Theoretically, right? Magic should never have to step out of its lore, but it does with these Universe Beyond sets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does. It is strange because, and I think this also goes into, I'm obviously on this podcast, we love consuming and hate capitalism. It's a really strange dichotomy that we have going. But I really do think it is a symptom of a corporation being trying not to uh trying to extract as much value from a property as quickly, because they stopped giving out free books. They started speeding up releases. They started flooding the zone with different cards. It's a lot of stuff that is less about the play experience and more about maximizing profit.
100%. a hundred
Mhm.
percent. And you know, so I'll pepper in another quote here because it's a tough stance to take to just say one or the other. Like I hate Universes Beyond or I don't. Another
Yeah.
friend of mine, she started playing Magic around 1997 with the
Yeah.
Tempest, Weatherlight, and Mirage
Damn.
sets. She said she remembers playing, but she stopped playing
Mm.
in 2007 or so and didn't play again until 2025 with the release of the Final Fantasy set. It's what brought her back because she couldn't resist, as it's her all-time favorite video game franchise. So
Absolutely.
that was somebody, she says, obviously Universes Beyond is what brought me back into Magic, so I can't discredit it, but I also feel like I haven't been back long enough to give a solid opinion on it. I want to say that I'd rather not have so many UB sets, but that'd be hypocritical since I wouldn't even be playing if it weren't for Final Fantasy. It does seem like Lorwyn and Edge of Eternities had far more interest than post Final Fantasy Universes Beyond sets. I think that's a really good take too, because here's someone who played when it was pure, Magic was pure, right? And then comes back with an expanded set and is like, "Oh, I'm actually having a lot of fun playing the property I'm familiar with on
Yeah.
Magic." You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of Universes Beyond really boils down to, do I like the thing? Like, it's very easy to be like, oh, I hate the Doctor Who Universe Beyond because I don't watch Doctor Who. I personally love Doctor Who, don't worry about it. Or to be, for me, I'm not very familiar with a lot of Assassin's Creed stuff. Like, I know the Animus, I know blah, 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 but I don't know it well enough to really be attracted to a Universes Beyond set completely based on it. And when Star Trek comes out later this year, there's a Star Trek Universes Beyond. I'm not going to really be that infatuated with it because it's a property that does not resonate with me. It's a property that not only doesn't resonate with me, it doesn't really jive with the source material. So it's a double clash. It's it's hard to say when it's done well, it's good, but a lot of the times it feels like when it's done well, it's good. And you don't give it breathing room to do it well. It takes time to design cards.
Well, so another part in looking this up I thought was kind of interesting, right? Is like Hasbro basically takes this stance saying like, well, having other IP
Hmm.
gives us breathing room, us being Wizards of the Coast slash Magic, gives us breathing room to take more time developing in-universe sets. That is kind of what happened last year with the Lorwyn, which was the most recent in-universe set that came out in January, was pushed back because of Spider-Man. People
Yes,
were, I
sir.
think, overall happy with Lorwyn. So I guess on one hand, you can kind of look at it and say, he flashes the
We're,
Lorwyn cards.
we're very happy with Lorwyn.
Like, I think you could use it as like, okay, it's a filler set, right? I think the turning point is when it comes to, okay, if you take a look at the 7 sets that are coming out this year, 3 of them are in universe and 4 exist outside Magic, you
Ooh,
know? So at a certain point, when are you more concerned about the additional IP than you are your own IP?
yeah. And at a certain point, if it's more filler than meat, what are we really doing here? You can't call it filler and then have it be the majority of what you're eating.
Another thing to point out. So, okay, for the casual listener, right? There are
Mhm,
multiple formats of Magic. The most fun, in my opinion, and the most sort of accessible to people who are not looking to be super competitive, they're looking to have a social aspect, is called Commander. Jonas,
mhm.
you and I both play Commander. It's, I would say, our favorite type because it's an inherently social game, the same way you would play a board game.
Yeah,
When Wizards
fair.
of the Coast announced Universes Beyond, they initially said that none of the out of universe, or sorry, I should say, all of the Universes Beyond sets would not be standard legal. Standard is the most competitive format for Magic the Gathering. If you
Mm.
compete at that level for standard, and like you're what's called the like a Magic Pro in the Magic Pro tournament, you are chasing hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, without a
So
doubt.
so that is the last quote I will read, right? Comes from somebody who is not geared towards me and Jonas's thinking, but instead
Mhm.
is geared towards more the
A
competitive
competitive
scene.
mindset.
And this person says, while I personally am not a fan of Universes Beyond, I don't think the idea is inherently bad, but I do think their current implementation is. Part of the thing about Magic is you don't have to know any of the story or lore in order to play the game. I'd argue most players have little to no knowledge on the backstory or who the characters are in on their in-universe cards. From what I understand, this is in contrast to something like Warhammer, where you learn the story through the guidebooks with which you use to play the game. So this sets
Mhm.
up a scenario where they can print whatever art they want on a card, and the card will still in function as intended. Now, he goes on to say, I can't remember who said this, but basically they said, if you don't like a set, you can just skip it. While this may be true for a format like Casual Commander, this is not the case for competitive formats. Largely being a standard player, currently I am forced to choose between an optimized deck using these cards or an unoptimized deck not using these cards. So I feel as if I have no choice but to engage with sets like Spider Man and TMNT. Making Universes Beyond sets standard legal was probably not a good decision at the time.
I think that's so poignant. It is it's very easy for us to be on the outside of something and say, "What's the big deal? It's just fun and games." Because we play Commander, we play Magic like it's a board game. I play to sit down for a couple of hours and just, oh my god, I've been holding that coffin for so long. All right, let me, you know what? Let me rip this
No
coffin.
reaction.
We,
I'm gonna
oh,
leave all
thank
this
you.
in, by the way.
Oh, you're gonna leave a cough in for the audio? Yeah,
It
it's gonna be
shows the
incredible.
listener we're authentic. We're
It's
authentic.
really beautiful. It's really beautiful. Anyway, um, I think that's a really poignant thing to say because it is so easy, as you were espousing earlier, it's so easy for us to be like, this is just a little bit of fun and games with the homies. I'm not using this to get really too competitive. I'm not using this to really focus up. I can ignore cards that I don't care about. But if ignoring these cards puts you at a radical disadvantage in a competitive mindset, it really does hamper and hinder your play experience. And for those who have a strong buy-in, which from like a, a market standpoint, those are the people who are spending the most money on your cards. Casual collectors, I buy a couple cards here and there. Maybe I'll go to a pre-release, but I'm not dropping the same amount that like a competitive CEDH or tournament player is dropping on cards. I have a cousin of mine who plays Yu-Gi-Oh! And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I'll drop 300, 400, 500. Not to put you on blast, Mikey. Sorry about that. Of cards. Yeah. Yeah.
Mikey got it like that,
Yeah,
huh?
he moving different. Not to, but he'll drop that amount of cards because he's going to stuff like regionals. He's going to tournaments. He's trying his best to be competitive, and I support being competitive. And if you have to play with Universes Beyond to be competitive, that sucks. It's like, man, I don't want to. I don't want to fucking play SpongeBob is not a mechanically unique card, so this doesn't really apply to him. But being like, I
Or
don't want to play
Grand Grand.
SpongeBob or
Grand
Grand
Grand.
Grand, who is a quite popular. Isn't Grand Grand Lessons like actually kind of good and standard right now?
Yeah, the one of the high competitive decks was mostly consisted of Avatar: The Last Airbender cards.
Hell, my goodness. Oh well, all right. I mean that's rough. That's
Yeah.
hard to deal with.
And there's a deck out there that was called Demir Excruciator, which basically was am I no, sorry. It is oh man, I'm hating that I'm forgetting this because it killed me in one shot. Basically, there was a Spider-Man card, right? It was like a 30-cent Spider-Man card that enabled another previous Magic card to pop off in a way that was unstoppable. Like it itself
Absolutely.
could be shut down, but the if it got off, it was near impossible to stop because of its mechanic with previous cards. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, if you're going to consist and you are going to spend a lot of money getting to regionals, booking your flights, buying in, competing at regional qualifiers where they don't allow things like proxies, it kind of sucks that you're forced into a meta, right?
Yeah. But hear me out, not to play Hasbro's advocate, but if I is that not the same of being like, I don't like space stuff. EOE, why am I being forced to play with Edge of Eternity's cards, which is a space themed set? It's within the Magic universe, but it is space themed. Or I don't like fairy tale stuff. Why am I being forced to play with Wilds of Eldraine? Or I don't like school stuff. Why am I being forced to play in Strixhaven? Just because you don't enjoy the theming doesn't mean it doesn't provide it like a lack of right to exist or however you want to say that.
Sure. Yeah. I think ultimately, right, it becomes to like it comes back to the larger picture, man, of like why are you doing this? Are you doing it because you feel like the player base will benefit? Or are you doing it because at the end of the rainbow is a big pot of gold? And all of
Mm.
this, before we transition to sort of the back half of the episode, I want to be cognizant of time here, Jonas. But
Yeah, fair.
the all of this has culminated in a lawsuit that Hasbro's own investors are bringing against Hasbro, and basically it's like the overprinting of cards, not using their not organically and smartly producing new sets. The plaintiffs argued that these crossover products weren't being released because of smart organic growth strategy. They were being used cynically, in other words, held in reserve and deployed whenever Hasbro needed a sort of cash influx to patch holes elsewhere in the business.
Mm.
So, as a shareholder of Hasbro, you're looking at that and you're saying, like, you're milking Magic to death to save the rest of the company, and you're just lying about it. Also, kind of an interesting thing. There was a rumor that with Magic's 30th anniversary set, former employees claimed that there was a sellout that was staged by pausing sales, and that product that did not get sold ended up in a landfill.
Yes, I saw things like online of people pulling huge pallets of magic cards out of a landfill. I can't claim if it was accurate or real or authentic, as I should have said, but it was, kind of interesting. I could low key believe it.
Maybe I'm cynical and maybe I hate corporate America, but I don't
Hmm.
put it past them. You know? Like,
Yeah, why would you? These guys suck. Oh, brother, these guys stink.
I mean, however you want to rationalize it, I think there's a world in which both things are true. I'm sure there are
Mhm.
still Wizards employees who look at Magic as something very near and dear to their heart and they want to put out the best product they can. And then there are the NBA finance guys who are like, well, if we put out 7 sets this year, our numbers are going to go up and big number good, you know?
Yeah,
Also, we
but
didn't even get into that. We'll probably get into this in a later episode. There are allegations that fucking AI is being used to come up with the images on these cards, which fuck you. If that's what you're doing, you have talented artists who want nothing more than to put their product on a or put their, their likeness on a magic card, and you're going to screw them over by getting a town's worth of water to generate fucking images.
I do want to look more into that because Magic, I will say, is quite good. In my I love to use search engines like Scryfall and Tagger to do a lot of my searching for Magic the Gathering cards, and they are really good about expressing artists who have worked on the product. I can always see who made the thing, always see who drew it. So I would love to see some more information about the AI allegations because I have heard something to that as well, and I am curious about that because it would really suck because they're incredible artists who are doing real work on these cards, and it really poisons the entire well if I'm opening a pack and I see like four things of sick art and then one thing of like who is this? Why did they do this? What the hell is going on? Kind of vibe.
Yeah, it has an uncanny feeling when you see shit like that, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my rant. I got a little passionate. Sorry, chat.
Yes.
I'm curious your thoughts, like the listener. I'm curious what other people's thoughts on universes beyond, because I think between me, you, the people I talk to, the general consensus is that like, yeah, it's not the best, but like, hey, I like some of the stuff they're doing, and yeah, it could be better. But I guess it all depends on the angle you're looking at it from.
Absolutely. I too would be very curious about the nature of Universes Beyond as a growth medium for Magic the Gathering, especially as this game becomes more and more social, as things like MagicCon become even bigger, as people follow more and more Magic shows online, which is one of the ways I got into it. Is a lot of the creators I liked who are doing other stuff happen to also be playing Magic the Gathering. As all of these begin to grow, I would love to see more people's perspective on it. And I really appreciate you bringing in so many differing opinions on the matter.
I screw this podcast and become an investigative guerrilla journalist.
Yes, but only regarding Magic the Gathering,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
only about stuff that ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff that ultimately doesn't matter, I have just a little quick thing I wanted to run through in the back half. So, why don't we cue our mid transition that we definitely have as we transition to the back half of this episode?
Woo! And something goes across the screen.
Stosh, you did some really great work this episode about finding people's opinions on the universes beyond situation. And I was really fascinated about hearing people's thoughts on different subject matter. And I figured we could kind of keep that going to the second half of the episode and hearing people's thoughts about something that is very near and dear to our hearts: video games. People have some really strong opinions on these things. And so I was wondering, Stash, as a game, do you think if you heard someone's rants and complaints about a video game, you could figure out what game they were talking about?
Ooh, can I be honest with you? I was really hoping we were going to talk about Morning Glory Milking Farm one more time.
No, it's over. We're
Let
out
it
of
go.
Athenian sacrifices. We're out of. He's still horny. Sorry. For those audio listeners, I did the Minotaur horns with my hands. It was a terrible bit, but I stand by it.
Could I figure out? Yeah, yeah, I think I could. I think I'm tapped in enough
Really?
to figure it out.
Holy shit. All right, why don't we give this a quick go? I'm going to read part of a review. and
Okay.
you are going to let me know when. I'm going to let you buzz in and see if you can figure out what the hell game I'm talking about. Are you ready?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do
Allow me. This game is still a huge. The score given is 0 out of 10.
it.
This game is still a huge steaming pile of garbage. The greedy developers are charging $60 for a bad PC port full of stuttering problems and crashes. Why do you think rural landscapes are far more common in AAA open games than urban, despite GTA 5 being special, when no one but Ubisoft can do it too? Why do you think the budget was 300 million? I can't believe you nerds were shocked by that number. Why do you think this game would be any damn good? Of course this game was trash. All this woke nonsense, and who wants to take the subway? This game sucks. What game do you think he was talking about?
Oh my god, I have no idea. Uh okay, so it obviously takes place in a city.
Okay, it takes place in the city, and you can
It
ride the subway.
You can ride the subway and rural landscape. I'm gonna say okay, I it's not right, but the only thing that's coming to mind is like H1Z1.
No, the answer we were looking for was Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2.
Wait, wait, wait. Which Spider-Man 2? From what year?
From the recent Spider-Man 2, the refurbished remaster that came out in 2025, I believe.
The one where Venom is like the
Yep,
villain?
yep.
That game was
That's
awesome. What the fuck is this guy talking about?
he hates it. He gave it a 0 out of 10 and he got mad you could ride the subway. A thing you only do when you're fast traveling, but an optional thing you can do. He chose to ride the subway.
Yeah, yeah. I'm imagining this guy's be like, look at this fucking feature. Yeah, I could swing
Yeah.
around New York City, the 1-to-1 ratio, but I'm taking the goddamn C downtown, baby.
I fucking hate this game and I hate Spider-Man. That's
Also, what
he's
woke thing is he talking about? Like,
I think maybe because Miles is black. I don't know what's going on over there.
oh, fuck you. If
Um,
that's the reason, fuck that guy.
we're gonna keep going. Are you ready?
Okay, all right, yeah.
Okay, I have another game for you. So I've been playing this game for a while now, and I was debating what to score this game. I was going back and forth on what to give this game. Maybe I should give it a 4, maybe a 5, maybe even a 6. But after an incident that occurred yesterday, my mind's been made up. Ugh. The best part of this game, it's free. Half the maps are well designed. But the problem with me is the powers being too accurate to the lore. It makes this game so unbalanced, and I can't see it being good for a fan who wants to have fun. This game is PvP, unrealistic, and way too clunky. What game do you think he is talking about? I've been doing some uh sh- shortening and cutting around. So
Okay,
this
some
is a
some
bit of
paraphrasing, if you will.
yeah, it's paraphrasing. I've been compositing different parts of different reviews to make a super reviews. So what
Okay, so
game do you think is
it's
being
got a
discussed?
power system that's unbalanced,
Okay.
and they've been playing the game for a while, and something is lore accurate.
Yes, and it's also free. Once again, 0 out of 10, by the way. Just
Is
wanted
it
to let you
is
know.
it Wizard 101?
No, buddy, we're looking for Marvel Rivals.
What?
I am so sorry. The game we're looking for is Marvel Rivals.
Okay. Like, sure,
Okay.
yeah. Like Hulk bodies the thing, but like, are we gonna get that upset about it?
Yeah, I don't know what the this guy love this guy to death. His name only one here. Big fan of his work for a long time. He really makes very crazy reviews. And I can't tell if he's doing a bit or if he legitimately feels this way. But every now and again when I need a little cheer up, I'll just be like, I wonder what he's talking about nowadays.
I like to think he's
Um
got too much time on his hands.
I Josh, if you could see the amount of reviews on this site, you would know he has way too much time on his hands. And that's coming from a guy who records a nerd podcast every week. This next is going to be, we have two more. This is a 0 out of 10. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, yeah. Hit me.
I am not done with you, Sony. A family member of mine owns this game, so that entitles me to review this game again. I do remember playing it earlier this year at his house during a party, and the family members always await for the complete edition rather than getting at launch. So he is the game of the year edition of Spider-Man 1 as well. One thing I'll say about this game is that it includes all the DLC in the disc, unlike the greedy developers at Insomniac who put the Spider-Man 1 disc. Will I give them credit for that? Absolutely not. They joined the trend of having greedy paid DLC in a year. So most of this review is a complaint about a different game, about Spider-Man.
I was gonna say,
And I will say, it's not Spider-Man. He really um so with that amount of knowledge to go on, what game is this?
I genuinely thought that you when he was like, my family owns this game, or a buddy of mine, I thought he meant like he knows the publisher or he knows the developer.
No,
uh
literally just
Game of the
his
Year
cousin bought the
DLC.
game. Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just the first thing that comes to mind, like Halo 4.
No, we're looking for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Ah, okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm going through Stash's most recently played and just kind of picking those games down the list. All right. We got another ready. This is the last one.
Okay.
0 out of 10. This game is also, I'm not cherry picking 0 out of 10s if you haven't caught this guy's energy yet. This game is still a steaming pile of garbage. The DLC is exactly what I expected. It's just another empty wasteland of plants, trees, rocks, with a few LA landmarks that should have been included in the base game. There's nothing to do in the open world, and I'm pretty sure I criticized how bad the facial animations looked in my PS5. And you know what? Looking at it again, it's quite impressive. But the eyes look awful, which makes facial animations look terrible overall. First things first, nerd games aren't profitable. By nerd games, I mean anything that is an internet critic darling, and you get called a contrarian for hating. Ugh. But if COD, FIFA, and Red Dead Redemption 2 had bundles too, they would be much better games. Greedy developers. So could you please tell me what game he's talking about here?
What, dude? It is it Cyberpunk?
And I hate to say it, it's Horizon Forbidden West. It's the next game in the series.
He came back. He came back to the second.
He came back again. These are like 2 days apart from each other. He was really knocking on that door.
Oh, wait, it's on the same game.
he, he did number 1 and then came back for number 2. He was really
That's
mad
so
about it.
funny. He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not done here.
Yeah, run it back. This is a composite of like a couple of people's reviews, but it's mostly only one here. And his negative review percentage is 92%. He really does not enjoy games. His average user score is 0.7. I have to express how much he does not like video games.
Did you happen to find any of his positive reviews?
Just for you, Stas, let's go ahead and let's go by score. Number 10. Oh, he gave a 10 out of 10 to Forza Horizon 4.
Okay.
He also gave a 10 out of 10 to Forza Horizon 5. He gave a 9 to He gave a 9 to Hot Wheels Unleashed. He might just like wheels.
I think he's like 8. What?
And a 9 to Wreckfest. I legitimately think he might just like wheels.
He fucks with cars heavy.
He fucks with cars heavy.
Wow, that's
Happy
so
for
funny.
him.
I was not expecting. He's like, man, I cannot stand Horizon Forbidden West, but I do like Forza 5.
Yeah, Spider-Man. But wait a minute. This guy's onto something.
Give that hero some wheels, and I'm in.
Yeah. And he better not take public transport. Like, oh.
Yeah, that's really what he's like. I like vehicles, not the subway. All right, Jonas. I think that brings us to the close of our episode. Why don't you tell the listener what A, your favorite color combo in Magic, and B, what video game has your attention right now?
Ooh, thank you for asking. My favorite color combination in Magic is red, white, green, also known as Naya. I just think it's fun. You make big monsters, you throw them at faces, and you just get a little silly. I love ramping, and the video game that I've been playing a lot of recently, With the release of the new Pokopia, which is a Pokemon like Minecraft game, I've been playing a lot of the game that studio made before, which is Dragon Quest Builders 2, which is one of my favorite darling games. All right, what about you? Hit me. What's your favorite combo in game you've been playing?
Favorite color combo is Grixis, black, red, blue. I love taking your shit. I love making you sacrifice.
Oh,
It's notably the villain color, but I
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
fuck with it. My favorite deck is my Kefka deck,
Ooh,
and
ooh, oh. I didn't mention my favorite deck, which is so poignant for this episode.
I'll say my favorite video or the game that has my attention is the World of Warcraft Midnight expansion came out, and I've been leveling. I've switched off Warlock, and now I'm going full time Demon Hunter.
Oh, we love a Demon Hunter. That's more my Hearthstone history. That's like Demon Hunters are cool. But my favorite deck is my Aragorn King of Gondor deck. I love this guy. He's I don't know if that's in frame. Stash will fix it.
I
Um,
got it.
he's incredibly swaggy. I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time recently, and I was confused because Aragorn didn't look like how I knew him. Um,
They took some liberties with that one.
yeah. But I don't mind. I don't mind those liberties they took. So I really like it. It's very fun. It's very fast. It's very silly. Stash, before we go, do you want to talk about what we're coming with for next episode?
Yes, next episode, Jonas is going to take the reins and talk us through nerdum in sports ball.
Yeah, hot hype. Yeah,
So
we
for
did.
all you millennials out there who are like, I don't like sports ball, it's over.
Mhm.
You're not allowed to do
Yeah,
that anymore.
you're done. We're getting into sports. We're going to be talking about athletes who are into nerd stuff. We're going to talk about how nerd stuff has evolved through sportsdom. We're going to talk about if you're a nerd, what sports can you get into, and what's a great way of getting into them. And we're going to talk about if you're a big jock and you'll never be caught doing some nerd shit, what's a way you can access that? All that and more on the next episode of the Tap 2 podcast.
Cut.